can impact the Indian rupee.
It can.
One that really stood out was the 2018 currency war. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. The 2018 currency war was a time of high tension and volatility in the global currency markets.
Yeah.
It was triggered by trade disputes between the U.S. and China, as well as different monetary policies being pursued by major central banks.
Sounds like a battle, but with currencies as the weapons.
Yeah.
Who were the main players in this financial skirmish?
So the U.S. under President Trump accused China of intentionally manipulating its currency, the yuan,
Okay.
to gain an unfair trade advantage by making their exports cheaper.
So the accusation was that China was artificially weakening its currency to boost its exports.
That's right. And to complicate things further, the U.S. Federal Reserve was raising interest rates, which made the dollar stronger and put downward pressure on other currencies, including the Indian rupee.
So it was like a double whammy for the
Yep,
rupee.
caught in the crossfire of this U.S.-China currency battle.
What was the impact on the Indian economy?
So the rupee depreciated quite sharply against the U.S. dollar during this period, hitting a record low. And this made imports more expensive, which fueled inflationary pressures in India.
Ouch! That's a real world example of how these global currency dynamics can hit our wallets.
It is.
Were there any other consequences for India?
Well, it also raised concerns about foreign investors pulling their money out of emerging markets like India,
Okay.
because they were worried about the instability.
So it wasn't just about the rupee's value going down. It was also about investor confidence
Exactly.
and the Indian economy taking a hit. Speaking of global shocks, how did the COVID-19 pandemic impact the rupee?
Oh, the COVID-19 pandemic was another major upheaval for the global economy, and the rupee was no exception. The pandemic triggered a sharp decline in global trade, disrupted supply chains, and sent investors running for safer assets.
So investors were panicking. They were pulling their money out of anything that seemed risky, including emerging market currencies like the rupee.
That's right, and that caused the rupee to depreciate further against the U.S. dollar during the peak of the crisis.
Sounds like another tough situation for the RBI to manage. What steps did they take to stabilize the rupee during the pandemic?
The RBI rolled out a range of measures to try to calm the storm.
Okay.
They intervened in the foreign exchange market. They provided dollar swap lines to banks to ensure that they had access to dollars. And they cut interest rates to stimulate the economy.
So they were pulling out all the stops to prevent a full-blown currency crisis. It seems like the RBI is always on high alert, trying to manage all these internal and external forces buffeting the rupee.
That's part of their job, to navigate these complex currents in the global financial system and keep the Indian economy on an even keel. And this brings us to a couple of more specialized measures that economists and the RBI use to gauge the rupee's strength: near and rear.
Near and rear. Those sound a little technical.
Yeah, they are a bit technical.
Can you break them down? For us?
Sure. So near stands for nominal effective exchange rate, while rear stands for real effective exchange rate.
Okay.
And both are indices that measure the rupee's value against a basket of currencies of India's major trading partners.
So instead of just looking at how the rupee is doing against the dollar, they're considering how it's performing against a whole group of currencies. Why is that important?
So it gives us a broader, more realistic picture of the rupee's overall strength or weakness. After all, India trades with lots of countries, not just the U.S. Think of it like a sports team's power ranking.
Okay.
So near tells you how the rupee is performing against its rivals based on their scores, their exchange rates.
Okay, so it's a multi-currency comparison.
It is.
What about rear? You said it takes this a step further, right?
Right. So REAR is like a power ranking that also takes into account home field advantage. It factors in inflation differentials between India and its trading partners.
Oh, that makes sense. So it adjusts for the fact that prices might be rising at different rates in different countries.
Exactly. And this adjustment is important because it gives us a clearer picture of the rupee's actual purchasing power, what you can, actually buy with it.
Right.
A high rear suggests that Indian goods and services are becoming relatively expensive compared to those of our trading partners,
Okay.
which could make our exports less competitive.
So REAR is a good gauge of how competitive India is in the global market.
Exactly. And the RBI keeps a close eye on both near and rear to assess the rupee's overall health and competitiveness.
Fascinating. It feels like we're peeling back the layers of the onion here.
We are. We are.
We're getting deeper into the nuances of exchange rates.
Absolutely.
One more thing I wanted to clarify. Our sources often use the terms devaluation and depreciation. Are they the same thing?
It's a great question. So they both mean a decrease in a currency's value,
Okay.
but there's a key difference. Devaluation is a deliberate policy decision by a government or central bank, usually in a fixed exchange rate system to make their currency cheaper and boost exports. Think of it like flipping a switch to weaken the currency.
So it's a deliberate move to make their exports more attractive.
Exactly.
What about depreciation?
Depreciation is different. It's a market-driven decline in a currency's value
Okay.
due to changes in supply and demand in the foreign exchange market. It's a more gradual process, like a slow leak in a tire.
Okay.
It's influenced by market forces rather than a deliberate policy decision.
So depreciation is the market doing its thing,
It is.
while devaluation is the government stepping in and making a change.
Exactly. Understanding this difference can really help you interpret news about currency movements and economic policy decisions.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. We have.
Currency convertibility, the impact of global events on the rupee, the role of the RBI, and the difference between devaluation and depreciation. I'm feeling a lot more informed about this complex world of exchange rates. What other fascinating insights are in store for our listeners as we head into the final part of our deep dive? Welcome back, Currency Explorers. We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into this fascinating world of exchange rate systems. We've demystified floating and fixed rates, and even we explored how the Indian rupee kind of navigates the global market. We even survived a currency war or two along the way. But there's one more concept I'm really curious about. You mentioned earlier that the nominal exchange rate doesn't always give us the full picture of a currency's purchasing power, right?
Right. And that's why we really need to understand purchasing power parity, or PPP, to get a more accurate view of what a currency is really worth.
Okay, purchasing power parity, PPP. It sounds important,
Yeah.
but also a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Can you break it down for us?
Sure. So think of it this way. Imagine you're comparing the price of, let's say, a basket of groceries.
Okay.
In India and the U.S., let's say it costs 5,000 rupees in India and $50 in the U.S. If you just use the market exchange rate, you might think, wow, things are so much cheaper in India. But PPP actually takes into account the relative cost of living in each country,
Uh-huh.
how much you can actually buy with that amount of money.
So it's not just about converting currencies. It's about understanding how much those currencies can actually buy in their own countries.
Precisely. PTP is based on the idea that a basket of goods should cost the same in different countries. When you factor in the cost of living, and it involves comparing the prices of a wide range of goods and services to create a more realistic comparison of living standards and economic output across different countries.
This is starting to make sense. But why is PPP so important? Like what insights does it offer?
Oh, well, one of the most fascinating things is how PPP can change our perception of global economic power.
Okay.
When we use PPP adjusted GDP, which takes into account the relative purchasing power of currencies,
Uh-huh.
it it paints a very different picture than using nominal GDP, based just on exchange rates.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at nominal GDP, the U.S. is still often ranked as the world's largest economy. But if you use PPP adjusted GDP, China actually takes the top spot, followed by the U.S. and then India.
Wow. That's a pretty dramatic difference. So PPP gives us a more accurate sense of how big an economy really is
Yeah.
in terms of what its people can buy with their money.
Exactly. It helps us understand the true size and strength of an economy,
Right.
not just its exchange rate.
This PPP concept is really eye-opening. Are there other ways it's used?
Oh, absolutely. PPP is also used by organizations like the World Bank and the IMF to make international comparisons of things like poverty levels and average incomes. It's a really valuable tool for understanding the challenges faced by different countries and for making informed policy decisions.
Okay, so PPP helps us compare economies and living standards across countries more accurately.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's like we've added another dimension to our understanding of exchange rates. Is there anything else we need to know about PPP before we move on?
One important thing to remember is that PPP isn't a perfect measure. It's based on complex calculations involving a wide range of goods and services, and it can be influenced by factors like government policies and data availability. But even with its limitations, it's still a very powerful tool for getting a more nuanced and insightful view of the global economy.
This has been a fascinating detour into the world of purchasing power parity. I feel like I'm finally starting to grasp this complex interplay of exchange rates and inflation and living standards,
Yeah.
all across the world.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up our deep dive into exchange rates, you mentioned one final point that piqued my curiosity:
Yeah.
the rise of the Chinese yuan.
Yes, the yuan is definitely a force to be reckoned with in the global financial arena. We've talked a lot about the dominance of the U.S. dollar, but China has been actively promoting the internationalization of the yuan,
Right.
encouraging its use in trade and investment, and it's gaining traction.
So is the yuan on track to challenge the dollar's dominance? Could we be headed for a world with two major global currencies?
It's certainly a possibility. China has been very strategically laying the groundwork for a future where the yuan plays a much more prominent role in the global economy.
What are some of the steps China has taken to boost the yuan's global standing?
Well, one major milestone was the inclusion of the yuan in the IMF's basket of reserve currencies,
Okay.
the special drawing rights. This was back in 2016, and that was a really big vote of confidence in the yuan, signaling its growing acceptance as a global currency.
So central banks around the world can now hold yuan as part of the foreign exchange reserves, right?
That's right.
Alongside dollars and euros and yen.
Exactly. And China has also established currency swap agreements with numerous countries,
Mhm.
making it easier to trade directly in yuan, bypassing the need for dollar conversions. And they've been actively promoting the use of yuan in international payments and settlements.
So China is creating a whole ecosystem for the yuan to thrive
Mhm.
on the global stage. What does this mean for the future of the global financial system?
Well, it's hard to predict the future with certainty, but the rise of the yuan definitely has the potential to shift the balance of power in the global financial system.
Right.
It could lead to a more multipolar system with multiple major reserve currencies, offering more options for countries like India in terms of trade and investment.
That sounds like a pretty significant change. What does this mean for India? Should we be jumping on the yuan bandwagon?
Well, as with most things in economics, there are both potential benefits and risks for India.
Yeah.
On the one hand, increased use of the yuan could reduce transaction costs and offer a way to diversify away from the U.S. dollar.
Uh-huh.
But excessive reliance on the yuan could also expose India to Chinese economic and political influence. So it's a balancing act.
This has been an incredibly enlightening journey through the world of exchange rates. We've explored how exchange rates work, the different systems in play, the role of the RBI in managing the Indian rupee, the impact of global events, and even the potential for a multipolar currency future with the rise of the Chinese yuan. Before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they venture out into this complex financial world?
While exchange rates might seem like abstract numbers, but as we've seen, they have a very, very real impact on all of our lives. They influence the prices we pay, the jobs we have, and the strength of our economy. And understanding how they work empowers us to make more informed decisions, whether we're planning a trip abroad, considering an investment, or just simply trying to make sense of the news. Keep learning, stay curious, and never stop questioning.
Wise words. Thank you so much for guiding us through this complex and fascinating world. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the topics that shape our world. Until next time, stay curious.